Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather, and I'm really excited to show you our brand new batch of private stock items. Everything you're about to see in the video will be going live this Monday, September 19th at 12 p.m. noon Central Time. And we have a dozen baseballs in the batch as well as some Nato watch bands that we'll be featuring. Let's take a look at the baseballs first. The first one here is reverse black shell cordovan, and we have a very nice Horween shell cordovan ink stamp cut into this panel here. Here's another shell cordovan baseball, which are really fun for me to see. This one is a combination of marbled black shell cordovan and green shell cordovan. It might be kind of difficult to see in the light here, but the marbled green has a really subtle texture from a more forest green and orange color. And here's a better look at marbled black shell cordovan. This one is marbled black for both of the panels. Another two-tone baseball here. This is natural shell cordovan and cigar shell cordovan. Here's a good combo with whiskey shell cordovan and black shell cordovan. And here's another fun one. It's a leather and finish that we don't often see. Inverted black shell cordovan. And there's a very nice color range from a sort of golden brown to a little bit of a darker, more forest green color in the inverted black shell. This one is black shell cordovan and has a really cool contrasting gray stitch. This baseball has a perfectly cut Horween shell cordovan ink stamp on the reverse amaretto, and this is combined with some black shell cordovan for the other panel. Here's another one in reverse dip-dyed amaretto shell cordovan. That reverse side of the dip-dyed amaretto is a really vibrant orange, almost like a pumpkin orange, and this one is combined with violet shell cordovan. The other great thing about this one is a contrasting red stitching. Another baseball here that I was really impressed with, also with that red stitching. This is tumbled natural shell cordovan. You can see some of the texture in the tumbled natural shell here. I think this one might have been my favorite from the baseballs. This is cigar shell cordovan and reverse cigar shell cordovan. You can see the bright shiny luster on this particular piece of reverse cigar. What we did here is we hand glazed the reverse side, which really fills it in and makes it very bright and shiny. And the last of the baseballs, this is a fun one. This is what we've been calling blood orange shell cordovan. It's a really dark sort of orange red color, like sort of like you would imagine blood orange. This was intended to be the amaretto shell cordovan. So originally they had made this with a dip dyed method. So it was dip dyed amaretto. It came out a little too dark, so we've been calling it blood orange. And the other piece here with the shell cordovan ink stamp is the backside of that dip dyed amaretto. So you get more of this orange color. And because we've applied a little bit of a hand glazing to brighten the luster on this piece of reverse shell, not only is it more bright, shiny and smooth, but it also became a little bit darker in that finishing process. Before we get into the Nato watch straps, which I have so many Natos to take a look at, I'm so excited to show you this passport holder here. This is a hand-stitched passport field notes holder in raw violet shell cordovan, a finish that we also don't very often see. There's so many great things in the video today, things that we've never seen before. So we've got this great hand stitching. It's a very bold, chunky thread look for the hand stitching. Here's what I like the most. This is also inverted shell cordovan, but this is inverted violet. So we get to see all these random dye marks, but this is on the shell side. So if you take a look at the underside, the reason it's called inverted was the tannery finished the shell cordovan on the reverse side with a purple color here, and we left the shell side with all these random dye marks in that purple shade. And it's sort of like a Jackson Pollock painting with all those bits of random color and dye marks. And I just love the way this passport holder turned out. So we have inverted violet on the left and right. This one is sitting on top of some more raw violet shell cordovan to match the color on the outside. And here's one more really special piece to show you before we look at the Nato straps. This is our Gus card case. If you're not familiar with this one, we've been making this wallet without a snap closure. This is the first prototype that we've done with a magnetic snap on the front, and I'm pretty excited with how this turned out. I really enjoyed wearing my normal Gus card case. This flap will mold and form around everything inside just with the natural action from wearing it. But with the snap, I think it makes a little bit more sense to most people. I think it was a little bit confusing of how the flap worked on the normal Gus. So check out this leather here. This is our psychedelic shell cordovan, and I really hope that the color comes through on the video here. It's got a really great range of color with these purple tones, then a little bit more of an orangey tan, and all these colors in between. Sometimes there's a little bit of green in there too. We also have continued that on the inside. So we've got this piece here that covers up part of the magnetic snap hardware, also in the psychedelic shell, as well as this piece on the front. There's additionally another layer of leather underneath here. So a lot of leather in this Gus card case with a magnetic snap closure. So let's take a look at some of the 20mm NATO straps that we have here. The first one to look at here is marbled blue shell cordovan, which has a really nice color range. It's sort of like a greenish color with more blue aqua tones in it. And then we've combined that with some black hardware as well as blue hand stitching. Here's another one with some pretty cool blue hand stitching. It's sort of more of like a baby blue or robin's egg blue. This is inverted denim this time. It's kind of similar to the marbled shells in the color, but it has a little bit of a different texture to it. And this one also has a silver buckle and silver hardware. And to contrast that silver hardware, we have the same version here in inverted blue, but with black hardware. Here's another really nice looking piece of leather. This is inverted black this time. You can see the color sort of splattered look as opposed to the marbling, which is a little bit more of a linear texture. The inverted shells have more of this like Jackson Pollock-y kind of vibe. And on the inverted black, it's like a little bit more of like a golden tone that ranges to a darker black. And this NATO strap, along with all the others, are 20mm for your lug width on your watch. This one has a black set of hardware. And we made a couple NATOs in our most popular leather. This is English Tan Dublin. This one has a silver buckle. Here's another English Tan Dublin NATO strap. This one has black hardware. And here's a fan favorite, cigar shell cordovan on this 20mm NATO strap. And speaking of favorites, this is one of my favorite shell cordovan colors of all time, color number 4 shell cordovan. Here's a rare shell piece, 20mm NATO strap in whiskey shell cordovan. And I should have mentioned the difficulty in making the NATO straps is we need extra long pieces of leather for this design. So a rare color like the whiskey is tough to get. Here's a great looking strap in violet shell cordovan, very much a straight up purple shade. This one has black hardware. And let's contrast this violet shell cordovan with some marbled ultraviolet. You can see the violet on the right, definitely more of a straight up purple shade. We also have some hand stained edges, where the marbled ultraviolet here is a little bit more magenta, a little bit more pinkish. And then the range of color on the marbled ultraviolet goes down to a little bit more of an orangey tan shade. So we have one with black hardware. And we also have a nice marbled ultraviolet piece here in the silver hardware, and you can see a little bit more of the color range here. And one last NATO strap to look at. This is a piece of leather that I haven't really seen very often. This is marbled green shell cordovan. I don't think they've made too much of this before. So you can see we have the silver hardware on this. Marbled green shell cordovan, definitely more green, but it does have that range down to the little bit more of that natural color that you can see the color right there just peeking out a tiny bit. And it's a little bit more of like a subtle, more pale green for the marbled green shell cordovan. Let's give you a look at the backside here. This is the part that will touch your wrist. You can see more of that really cool color contrast. And I do have 3 small zips. This is our newest wallet style. It seems to be very, very popular. We launched it about a month ago in English Tan Dublin, and we just restocked more of the English Tan Dublin small zips. So if you're interested in this wallet, there are now some available. I've been wearing this one since the day we launched it, and I'm really, really enjoying how nicely this English Tan Dublin is wearing in. And I'm also really happy with the zip wallet itself. This wallet is really great for just throwing it into a bag and not worrying about your stuff falling out. So we have 3 small zips in the private stock. Each of these we've never done before. The first one here is actually irregular. This is denim blue shell cordovan on the small zip. And the reason that this one is an irregular is because there's some very small scuffs and scratches on the shell for the exterior. It's not so bad, so it's kind of borderline irregular. I just thought it was too much of a special piece since it's one of our first shell cordovan small zips. I didn't want to send you out something that had scratches in it and call it a perfect private stock. All of these also have this black zipper tape with antique brass teeth and an antique brass pull. And then in the interiors, we have black horsehide latigo. We have one more shell cordovan small zip to look at. This was the 3rd shell cordovan small zip we've ever made. Natural shell cordovan this time. We also have the same black zipper tape, antique brass teeth, and the black on the inside. And one last piece here. This is black Dublin, and you can see the really incredible grain character and figuring on this particular piece of Dublin. I find the black Dublin to be the most interesting black leather around. So we've paired this one with a contrasting cream stitch, which I think works out very nicely. Same hardware and zipper as on the other wallets, as well as the same black latigo on the inside. And we have 3 Johnny the Fox wallets to look at. The first piece here is another piece of Dublin that has incredible grain character and figuring on it. This is Brown Nut Dublin. It's more of a dark brown shade, but you can see that really incredible grain texture. This one has a contrasting cream stitch as well as Brown Nut Dublin on the interior. So we have 100% Brown Nut Dublin for this Johnny the Fox. And here's another Johnny the Fox with incredible splatter and dye marks. This is what we'll be calling the epic dye mark and epic dye splatter for the reverse shell cordovan. So this is all reverse color 8. The drip marks in this one are a little bit more of a brown, a little bit less burgundy than we normally see. And here's a look at the interior. We have more of this epic dye splatter on the right, as well as garnet shell cordovan on the left. And one last Johnny the Fox to look at. This one's actually an irregular, and I'll show you why, but it has incredible dye marks for the backside, almost like these drip marks here. Definitely a Pollock vibe with those. And I really like the exterior of this wallet. Let me show you the interior. We also have reverse black shell cordovan on the interior. And this one is more on the dark side for what we normally see on the reverse black shell cordovan. You can see these more forest green shades. And the reason that this one is an irregular, there's a little bit of a scar cut into this pocket right here that might be tough to see in the video, but definitely not perfect. And we have 7 of my favorite wallet style to look at. And we're gonna start off with our most popular shell cordovan color. This is the natural shell cordovan on the Fat Herbie. Incredible piece of shell, especially when you get to see this extra large context of leather. I just love when I get to see a light color like natural or marbled color. Let me give you a look at the inside of this natural shell cordovan Fat Herbie. This is almost like our normal Fat Herbie. The big difference here is this one has a Horween USA measuring machine stamp cut into the center, which I know a lot of people are looking for, and it's a little bit different than what we normally try to do. We normally try to cut the Horween shell cordovan ink stamp into the center. So let's take a look at this one here. One of my favorite Fat Herbies that we've ever done. Reverse color 8 shell cordovan on the exterior, really great dye marks, and that, of course, that Horween shell cordovan ink stamp. This one has a beautiful hand stained edge, and we have a stain that matches perfectly to the color 8 shell cordovan that you can see on the inside center here. And on the card holders, this is a little bit more of a saturated look of reverse color 8. You can see a little bit of the color range, but this is reverse color 8 shell cordovan on the inside. Here's another great wallet, one of my favorite leathers. This is the Pit Tanned M's Chromic Cell in the natural color on the Fat Herbie. This one has a horse mane cut into the center, so it is a horse hide. You can see that a little bit of a texture and color difference of the mane cut into the center. You might be able to see it a little bit better on the inside, where we've also cut the horse mane into the center of these card holders. And here's a fun one, cigar shell cordovan. I mentioned it's a fan favorite color, dark brown shade, very much a true brown, not very much red and burgundy to it at all. This one has a contrasting cream stitch with a reverse cigar shell cordovan interior. And speaking of cigar, this one is marbled cigar shell cordovan. So you get to see a little bit more of a range in the color, as well as more of this sort of textured look in the marbled shell. Here's a look at the inside. More marbled shell cordovan for the card holders with a Horween ink stamp cut perfectly into the center. And I have another great Fat Herbie in natural shell cordovan. This one is natural shell cordovan for the exterior, which is also very beautiful. As you spin it around, you'll notice the color does change before your eyes. And I really love this sort of parlor trick that we can do for people. On the interior of this one, which makes it a private stock, we have reverse shell cordovan for the inside. I love reverse shell cordovan for how it wears in on the interior of wallets. And the last Fat Herbie, this is maybe the best Fat Herbie of all time. This is a double reverse shell cordovan Fat Herbie, hand stitched in garnet shell cordovan. So on the exterior, the reason we call it double reverse is because you can see the shell side and the reverse side of the shell on the exterior, as well as the shell side and the reverse side on the interior. So we got double reverse, hand stitching, a little bit more of a bold, chunky thread look. And man, check out the shell on this one. Really, really, really nice piece of shell cordovan in that garnet color. Some of the nicest shell we've ever seen right here. And here's a look at the interior. We've cut some very nice drip marks and hand stitching on the inside. This is a perfect Fat Herbie, and I should have mentioned. And this one also has a little bit of a different stamp on the bottom right. It's the Ashland logo that we call the baby Ashland stamp. And we have 2 of the little brothers to the Fat Herbie. This is the Tony the Ant style. It's a similar aesthetic to the Fat Herbie. It's just a little bit smaller. This one is the epic splatter on reverse color 8 shell cordovan. You can see the ink stamp sort of poking out right through the bill slot in the center here. But man, that splatter is a really great look. It's a very dramatic look with the splatter on this particular one. We also have those very nice hand-stained edges for this wallet, and then more reverse colorate shell cordovan with the epic splatter for the interior. And here's the second and last Tony the Ant. We've got violet shell cordovan sitting on top of Kia green shell cordovan. I think the Kia green shell cordovan has only been made maybe 2 or 3 times ever. So this is a very, very rare color. We also have that baby blue stitching on the exterior, as well as that same stitching on the interior, and the same color combination here too. So we've got violet shell cordovan sitting on top of some Kia green shell cordovan. And moving down even smaller in size, this is our Bugs Moran wallet, similar to the Tony the Ant, but without a bill slot on the back, and it's just a little bit smaller, so we can fit it perfectly in your hand. It will fit perfectly in a front pocket. First one here is a really, really nice piece of black shell cordovan. We also have hand-stained edges, and then a reverse black shell cordovan interior that I think looks really nice. And here's another Bugs Moran. This time is in stone horsehide latigo. This is about a gray a color that you'll ever see a veg tan leather get. I just love how the stone latigo wears in. And the last one here is a very nice thin Bugs Moran. This is brown nut Dublin with incredible texture and grain character that you can see here. We also have a contrasting cream stitch, and then same thing on the interior, brown nut Dublin card holders with the cream stitching. Okay, we have a couple key accessories. Let's start here first. Psychedelic shell cordovan on this vault key case. Check out this color. It's really, really interesting. And on such a small piece like this, it's pretty unique to see a nice color range on a vault key case. So psychedelic shell cordovan that ranges from a little bit more of a violet color down to an orangey tan, and then all of these colors in between. And we have 2 hand-stitched key fobs in reverse color 8 shell cordovan with epic die splatter. This one also has that baby Ashland stamp. So the first one here is a little bit darker for those drip marks, a little bit more dramatic than this here. That's a little bit lighter in color. Let me give you a better look at the stitching here. The hand stitching turned out very nicely. And we're gonna wrap it up today with a brand new wallet style. This is our Bonnie wallet that has a flap closure and a magnetic snap. So you can see here on the big compartment on the interior, this will fit US dollars. In fact, it might fit a little bit of taller bills. There's a little bit of extra room inside of there. And then we have 6 card slots, so 3 on the left and 3 on the right. Let me show you how this one closes, because the snap closure is very, very nice to use. I think we're sort of favoring the magnetic snaps over the traditional snaps that we've been using, because the finish on these is very nice, but it also holds in place really well, and it's just very easy to open and close. And let me give you a little bit more detailed look at how we make this one. So the exterior piece here, you can see this piece of black Dublin goes all the way through the outside, the back, and then it continues on to this front section of the interior. So because the leather is wrapping from all the way on the outside underneath and then to the inside, it's going to be extra sturdy, so everything should stay in place. And we have a couple more of the Bonnie wallets. Check this out here. Some of the nicest chrome excel I've ever seen. And this color here is called Timber Chrome Excel. My business partner Dan works over at the tannery, and he came across this side of leather that's very, very nice. It's got such a nice glow to it, very bright and shiny, and a little bit more filled in than most chrome excel. And I think it's epic. This is the nicest chrome excel I've ever seen. And then the timber color is very brown. It's got like a subtle orange undertone to it. We've got the same thing on the interior. We also should mention, we line the back sides of the flap with more chrome excel. And I have one more chrome excel variant to look at. This is the natural chrome excel. Again, with this flap closure, it's a magnetic snap, natural chrome excel on the inside. We choose a little bit of a thinner piece of natural chrome excel to back the flap with. So because of that, is an awful lot of leather inside this little wallet. 3 more to look at. This is our most popular leather in color right now. This is the English Tan Dublin, very much an orangey tan shade and an incredible grain character. And we do have one more Dublin piece to look at. This is a little bit different though. This is called Chicago Tan, and you can see the Chicago Tan has a little bit more red to it as opposed to the English Tan, which is a little bit more of an orange tan. Chicago Tan is more red, and it's very, very nice. Here's a look at the interior and the exterior of this one. And the last wallet of the day is another Bonnie wallet, and one of my favorite leathers. This is the Latigo leather in the natural color. I really like natural Latigo. For some reason, I thought most people would like this color in most of our wallets. It seems like people want darker shades than this, but I love natural Latigo for how it wears in. It does become a little bit darker just with normal use, but as you wear it, the grain of the Latigo gets really, really filled in, bright and shiny and smooth. And I think it's extra special with how this leather wears in. So man, so many things in the video today. I think there was about 56 items. It's our most items we've ever done. And I'm going to come back to this fat herbie, which is absolutely incredible. This piece of garnet shell cordovan is so wet looking. It's like a really nice shiny luster and finish to it. And each piece of shell is a little bit different. And sometimes they're just naturally more bright and sort of glossy like this one is. And I wish I knew why that happened so we could tell them to do it again. But I think it's just luck of the draw. Each animal is a little bit different. But I'm really excited to be able to show you this wallet today, along with all the other items. If you have any questions about any of these, definitely let me know. And everything will be available on the private stock section of our website this Monday. That's September 19th at 12 o'clock noon Central Time. So thanks again. Hope you have a great day and take care.